We're looking at a massive stack of sources for you today on this deep dive. I mean, we have original police files, autopsy reports, news archives.
And modern criminal profiling data, too.
Right, and we are taking you straight to Whitechapel in 1888. Overcrowded, extreme poverty, dark alleys everywhere. Literally the perfect hunting ground for history's most infamous unsolved mystery, Jack the Ripper.
But we aren't here to just, rehash the foggy London legends or the movie myths today.
No, the goal for this deep dive is to look past the legend and examine the brutal facts. The canonical 5 victims, the chaotic investigation, and why this specific case really created the blueprint for the modern serial killer.
Exactly. Because 135 years later, this case still fuels that global obsession known as ripperology. But the actual data tells a much grimmer story.
Right, so looking at those canonical 5 victims, that's Marianne Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. The sources highlight a really terrifying escalation in his signature.
It wasn't just random violence. It moved very quickly from precise throat cutting to specific abdominal mutilation and organ removal.
Specifically the uterus and kidneys, right?
Yes. And that specificity is what really stands out in the autopsy notes. The killer removed those organs with a speed and precision that implies real anatomical or surgical knowledge. I mean, he wasn't just flailing around. He knew exactly where to cut in the dark.
And that compulsion is really underscored by the double event on September 30th. You have Elizabeth Stride killed but not mutilated, likely because he was interrupted.
So he immediately hunts down Catherine Eddowes less than an hour later to finish the ritual.
Wow.
Yeah, that intense drive to mutilate is the absolute core of the modern psychological profile.
And obviously it culminated with Mary Jane Kelly. Since that murder happened indoors, he actually had time. The crime scene reports describe near total destruction of the body with organs placed around the room.
It's horrific, but it showed what he was capable of when he didn't have to worry about the street patrol interrupting him.
Yeah. And speaking of the public aspect, the sources suggest the media was arguably as dangerous as the killer in this case. You have the famous Dear Boss letter where the name Jack the Ripper first appeared, and then the From Hell letter that actually arrived with a preserved human kidney.
Which is wild. But most historians and linguists analyzing the handwriting today agree the Jack letters were likely hoaxes.
Really?
Yeah, they were created by journalists to sell papers. This is one of the very first media-driven crime frenzies.
Which is a massive issue because it turned the investigation into a total circus. The police were flooded with thousands of fake leads generated by the press.
And you have to remember the context for, the Metropolitan Police at the time. They had no forensics, no DNA, no fingerprinting, poor crime scene preservation. They were trying to solve a serial murder case using methods that hadn't evolved much in a century.
Which naturally led to chaos. That vacuum of authority led to public panic and vigilante groups forming. The reports show a really sharp rise in anti-immigrant tension in the East End, specifically targeting Eastern Europeans.
And the sources show that prejudice actually shaped the suspect list.
Right. The theories essentially divide into 2 camps, the quote-unquote mad local and the upper-class interloper. But while the movies loved the Prince Albert Victor theory...
The royal conspiracy angle, yeah.
Yeah, the profiling data just widely dismisses it.
Not supported at all. Modern psychological profiling points to a male aged 25 to 40, socially isolated, and most importantly, local. He needed intimate knowledge of the Whitechapel geography to vanish into the dark alleys so quickly.
Which points us toward prominent suspects like Aaron Kosminski. He was a Polish barber and asylum patient. He fits that local and disturbed profile much better than Montague John Druitt, the barrister, or George Chapman, the poisoner.
Kosminski is definitely the most viable specific name in the files. There was that 2014 claim regarding DNA on a shawl found near Eddowes, supposedly linking to him.
Right, but the sources tell us to be cautious there because that science is still heavily disputed by other experts. It's not quite the smoking gun people wanted.
Exactly. But even without a definitive smoking gun, the legacy of the case is undeniable. It essentially created the prototype for the urban serial killer.
And it forced a total overhaul of policing methods. But I think the reason you and everyone else is still talking about it is simply the lack of closure. The identity is officially unknown.
Did he die? Was he imprisoned for another crime? Or did he just stop? The ambiguity is the most disturbing part. He likely didn't vanish into thin air. He just faded back into the crowd.
Which is a chilling thought. But before we wrap up, I want you to mull over one final thought based on what we've uncovered today. What if the real dark legacy of Jack the Ripper isn't the murders themselves, but the fact that the media circus actually taught future serial killers how to crave and manipulate the public spotlight?
Oh, that is an unsettling thought.
It really is. Thanks for exploring these sources with us today on this deep dive.